Hello and welcome. And we have just finished the first T20 game of the five-match series of New Zealand versus Australia. The first game played here in New Zealand in Christchurch. The Australian cricket team have just completed 2 weeks quarantine here down in Christchurch in New Zealand. Before this game, they got released out of quarantine yesterday, but they were able to train whilst they're in quarantine down in Christchurch. So they were out yesterday, and it was a packed house at Hagley Oval under lights in what was a good game of cricket, but an absolute hammering for Australia. So we'll go to the very beginning where Australia won the toss and they decided to have a bowl first. The ground was looking an absolute picture, packed house, as I said, and New Zealand were in big trouble early on, 3 for 19 after 4 overs. Martin Guptill didn't trouble the scorers again. Now, he's been under a lot of pressure here in New Zealand. He has not scored over 50 since 2019. So there's a lot of talk leading up to the series about Martin Guptill's form, and he wasn't able to deliver. So the pressure piles on him yet again, but we all know he is a very classy individual and he has proven his worth at international cricket over the last decade or so. Anyway, early wickets for Australia, 3 for 19 New Zealand were. They're in big trouble, but Devon Conway, this guy, he is a classy individual, and if only for his sake, the IPL auction was tomorrow night because he picked up 99 not out. He needed 4 runs off the last ball of the innings to try and get to his 100. 2 runs, and he only was able to pick up 1 run, end up on 99 not out. Now, at the start of his innings, he had to rebuild, didn't he? He worked a lot on the 1s and the 2s. He didn't sacrifice his wicket, and he didn't panic. There were lots of pockets at Hagley Oval, and he was able to access those pockets with Glenn Phillips, and they built a really nice partnership to recover New Zealand out of such a poor start. So Devon Conway, he's a classy batsman to watch on the eye. We saw that in the Pakistan series and the West Indies series as well, and he's carried this form on now against Australia, and Australia wouldn't have seen too much of him before. So 99 not out for him off 59 deliveries. Phillips played his hand in that partnership. He picked up 30 off 20, and that was where the momentum kind of shifted in towards New Zealand's favour. We were able to post a pretty decent score. Neesham played a little cameo at the end of 26 or 15 balls. He was excellent, and New Zealand ended up with 184 for 5, which was a pretty decent total from where they were at, because there's a pretty decent wicket as well. Sams, he picked up for the wickets 2 for 40 for Australia, and Jai Richardson, he picked up 2 for 31. He bowled exceptionally. He's easily their best bowler. He troubled the batters, bowled nice lengths, and I guess showed his worth because he got win for big money in that IPL auction, didn't he? So, change of innings, and this was really interesting stuff here at the start of this innings for Australia, while for New Zealand in the bowling department, because it was under lights and the ball started to swing right from ball 1. Now, who are 2 New Zealand's premier swing bowlers? Tim Southee and Trent Boult, and they showed all their class in the first 4 overs where they picked up wickets. Tim Southee ended up for 2 for 10. The ball was swinging. He used his crease, and we talked about Tim Southee, the use of his crease in the bowling tips video we did about a month or so ago. He uses the crease really well when the ball is swinging, and he did that tonight. He had 2 for 10. Trent Boult, left arm swing again, swinging the ball beautifully and using the straighter one as well at good pace. He had 2 for 22. Kyle Jamieson, he went for huge money in the IPL auction. He picked up 1 wicket for 32. Isodi picked up 4 for 28. And Mitchell Satner 1 for 29 at the end. He picked up a wicket. And the only batsman to show any sort of resilience out there was Mitchell Marsh, where he ended up getting 45 off 33 deliveries. So Australia just could not wrestle the momentum shift. New Zealand were able to do that in that first innings after being 3 for 19. Conway and Phillips rebuilt the innings. They laid a platform to launch at the end. Well, Australia couldn't really do that. So when Australia were 92 for 5, at that same comparison at the same time of the innings, I think New Zealand were 94 for 4. So there's not too much of a difference there. But New Zealand were able to pile that pressure on in runs at the back end of that first innings, and Australia just couldn't handle the onslaught of the New Zealand bowlers and the fielders. So New Zealand, at the end of the day, they win this game by 53 runs, and they take a big momentum shift down to the next game, which happens down in Otago at Dunedin at University Oval, much smaller ground. Hagley Oval, very much like an Australian cricket ground, really big oval, lots of twos, whereas the University Oval for game 2 is much smaller. So what you would come across with more traditional New Zealand venues. Now, I just want to talk about one thing, and I'm really interested in your thoughts and your comments on this. So this Australian cricket team is not their best 11. You think of some of the players who are back in Australia at the moment: Mitchell Starc, Josh Hazlewood, Pat Cummins, Marnus Labuschagne, Steve Smith, David Warner. There's 6 just there who would probably be in the starting 11 for this Australian side. Now, the reason they're not here in New Zealand is that this tour and the South African tour for the Australian Test team is meant to be taking place now, but Australia didn't tour there for COVID reasons. So those guys who I just mentioned are back in Australia. And the Australian selectors did not change this T20 squad. I can understand why they didn't want to change it, because this group here was in motion of quarantine in Australia, getting prepared to come here to New Zealand. But for the life of me, I don't understand how you can have an international team playing Test cricket from Australia and South Africa, and another international team from Australia playing T20 cricket in New Zealand at the same time. Now, international cricket is the best of the best from each country playing each other. That's what international cricket is. So for the life of me, how you can schedule 2 tours at the same time in different formats in different parts of the globe, the Test team, the Australian Test team in South Africa, and the New Zealand and the Australian T20 team coming down to New Zealand at the same time, is beyond me. International cricket is the pinnacle of the sport. We need the best squads, the best 11 or the teams playing all the time. I'll be interested in your thoughts on that, because where does that end? We have to treat international cricket with the respect that it deserves. So give me your comments there. If I got this wrong, I'll be interested to see and to hear what you guys think about that. But anyway, the team's not changing. So they're going to go into game 2 in a couple of days' time. But to wrap up game 1, New Zealand emphatic victors here, winning this first game by 53 runs, and Devon Conway was an absolute star.